Good morning. Welcome to ScreenJunkies Universe. We're having a great time already this morning. I am joined by a series of brilliant gentlemen in this building, and at the table with me is Mr. Spencer Gilbert. Hey, it's Spencer.
Happy Friday, guys.
Yeah, happy. Don't.
Rubbing it in.
Starr is here.
Me, Substitute Dan.
Yeah, in the Dan chair. Ed Greer, one of our favorites, joining us
hello.
as always on
I'm back.
Wednesday. I know it's Wednesday because Ed is here.
Yeah.
You almost had me. We're going to talk about Avengers galore, but there will be zero spoilers at all for Infinity War, except for the one that I'm about to tell you right now. Dies. Kevin Feige has been talking a lot, obviously, during the press tour for this movie about what's next for Marvel and what has been for Marvel. So we're going to go over some of that, and then we're going to talk about our favorites from Phase 2 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So stay tuned. Let us know your favorites. Starting with, so Kevin Feige was talking to MovieWeb and said that they are definitely thinking about Moon Knight for the future of the MCU. Here's the quote. Yes. Period.
End of quote. Moving on.
Does that mean 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now? That's ambitious, Kevin. There are stacks of character cards that we have in our development offices, which we look at, which we pull for from him, which we have discussed. So in classic Kevin Feige form, because he is a master of saying nothing and everything at the same time, they are thinking about it. What I thought was actually interesting was that he is thinking in terms of another 10 or 15 years. Do you think there's another 10 or 15 years in the tank? And do you want to see this character? Joe Starr.
Oh, I think this his children are going to inherit this this franchise. Megan Feige, 35 years from now, his daughter Megan will be running this and being like, you know, the fourth reboot of Moon Knight. It's something we've been talking about. Will that come in 15 years? I don't know. Look, man, yeah, they got binders of characters. They're not they're not running out anytime soon.
Does it feel to you, because I had always sort of presumed with the next Infinity War and the end of this phase, his contract is up really soon. I don't know we'll have to look up what the renegotiations are around that if we can, Billy, or anyone. So, but I had always presumed if he might mic drop it, but do you feel like there's no reason, especially with the Fox deal, he's got to keep going?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he seems to enjoy his work, and he's got like a spotless track record for what he's done. I can't see him abdicating the throne, because who else could step up and take that job from him?
No one. Look at all of the other studios.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But 15 years now, I don't know if we're gonna make it, guys. I think Phase 6 is gonna be us like reenacting Phase 1 around a campfire, like, and then Cap said, "Rah!" And then Hulk said, "Rah!"
I mean,
And then we'll be at a neighboring campfire talking about it.
yes,
Recapping it.
exactly.
I mean, I think that's something that a lot of people. It's easy to say, but we've been watching the Broccoli Family reboot a spy who smacks chicks in the face
I thought you
every
were talking
minute.
about VeggieTales.
You know what I'm saying? Like, but I'm getting there. I'm getting there. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. They're cottage industries, and they'll always have this audience: VeggieTales, James Bond, the 15th, Star Wars. There's things that aren't going away. Period.
Yeah.
Because there's too much money involved, and there's too much entrenched fandom, and people making new fans. People are literally. A new fan got born. A new fan with a Death Star hanging above his freaking crib. You can't kill that. And this is just like back in the days when Louise Simonson was an editor at Marvel for like 35 years. This is going to be the same. They're going to be able to set up these cottage industries for these movies because this is a new genre. Buckle up. We're going to have these movies forever because it's a new genre.
Well, it's not entirely a new genre. It's a genre that came in and out of favor and then now has been the dominant genre for the last decade plus. But that's a really good point. I agree. And that's what opens up where they start getting creative with the kinds of comic book movies that they're making.
Well, I mean, capably produced comic book movies are a new genre because when I was a kid, we had like Spider-Man with like a bunch of wool coming out of his wrist, and you know what I mean. Like I'm an old man. Back in my day, and we've even seen them try to do Doctor Strange in the 70s.
You don't like that Superman?
Yeah, Superman even. Superman. That's a bad outfit. You know what I mean? These Superman movies have aged like Meg Ryan.
You
okay,
can go back to
America's sweetheart.
Meg Ryan. necessary.
I'm a firebrand. That's what I do.
That's why we bring him.
All right, sir. All right, sir. We didn't talk about Moon Knight at all, so real quick. Yeah, Moon Knight.
I love
he's
Moon Knight.
Moon Knight's crazy and cool, and yeah, I'm sure he's thinking about him. I'm sure he's one of the many playing cards he has on the desk.
I hope they try harder to depict his mental illness in a way that is interesting. Unlike what I think I've seen in that Venom trailer, I don't think that depiction of like a symbiote taking over your thing is doing it for me already.
Do you watch Legion?
Yes. See, something like that, but with the low-level crime, like almost like Mel Gibson in Payback type of just gritty world where people just get punched and nobody does anything because there's no cops. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's just like a gritty noir Richard Stark world, but this guy's crazy and he's a superhero at night. I'd buy that for $1.
You just named one of the most perfect movies ever made, which is RoboCop, and this is the daily call out from Joseph Starr and I to watch Legion. Watch Legion.
It's real good.
All right. He was also talking to the Wrap, we're still referring to Kevin Feige, not Legion, who said that the Eternals is also in development. Quote, Eternals is one of many, 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 many things we're actively beginning to have creative discussions about. I just love that phrase. We are actively beginning to have creative discussions about.
That's beautiful.
To see if we believe in them enough to put them on the slate. So, okay, maybe you'll get Eternals.
Well,
Yeah,
I've read some interviews with I think Joe Robert Cole. I think that's what his name is. He co-wrote Black Panther. They just have an incubator. No, damn it. It's not God's plan for you to mention another rapper.
What about J. Cole, though?
He's the best, according to...
No features.
Anyway, but no features. Platinum, no features. This is hip-hop talk with Spencer and Ed.
Got a plan.
But basically, they have a Silicon Valley-style incubator of dudes just kicking it, walking around playing with toys all day, thinking about which Marvel characters they want to write. They got big posters that they walk around and they look at on like a campus and they just chill out, take naps under a big Thor blanket or some obscure character like the Eternals.
It's like a well-paid ScreenJunkies.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, I mean, they have dudes actively, mentally sort of, let me think about
All
this,
you're making
developing
me think
a lot of
is
stuff.
where did we go wrong to land here and not under that tent?
Well, we didn't win the Disney Fellowship or something. That's how they snatch them. They pick guys who win like certain guys and gals who pick fellowships. The lady who wrote the real first draft of Guardians of the Galaxy, the one that really got it going, she was part of that incubation process.
Yeah.
So they just have an incubator and they think about it all day. So yes, they're beginning to talk about everybody.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we did a tour, I think it was last year, of Marvel's offices, and it was really interesting to look at sort of the concept art that they had around and things that they were clearly kicking around or had been kicking around. And that's when I got the first look of the version of Thanos that we'll see in this movie, and he was looking like a badass. Their most immediate pick for a new character might be Nova. I don't think that's a huge surprise to anybody. He says Nova, and this is to comicbook.com, he says Nova is, if we have a big board with a bunch of characters that have more immediate potential, Nova is on that board because of the connection to the Guardians universe, because there are more than one examples to pull from in the comics that are interesting. And he confirmed that Nova was indeed in the earlier drafts of the Guardians of the Galaxy. As mentioned. Cool, huh?
Yeah, I love, are you reading the newer Nova, The Young Kid?
Yeah, I've seen it.
I love that book. It's really fun. Richard Rider is the original Nova. Just throw something at me if I'm saying things wrong. You know more than me.
Yeah.
Richard Rider is the original Nova. Guardians of the Galaxy sort of made the idea of Nova as this. They really sort of cemented them as like space cops, basically. John C. Reilly was a Nova.
Right.
And now that I'm remembering that John C. Reilly is a Nova, screw Richard Rider. Do the little kid, and John C. Reilly ends up on Earth and becomes like the kid's like surrogate father figure for whatever reason. And yeah, I'm in. That'd be a super super fun movie.
Into Nova.
Oh yeah.
Last Starfighter by way of John C. Reilly. Into it.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Why? You know what? And here's my daily question to us: of all of the things, no one's rebooted the Last Starfighter. Discuss.
It'll happen. Just on a long enough timeline, everything.
Yeah,
will be
I
rebooted.
think I read something that they were trying to do that, but I think something like Ready Player One comes out and it goes like, it either ramps it up or it kills it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They
So it
either
might
go
be ramped
copycat
up.
or they go,
A little bit of follow up is we did look up after we mentioned the Last Starfighter musical on this show. We looked it up on YouTube, and there's a reason why a lot of people have never heard of the Last Starfighter musical.
Got it.
Yeah, but also it is pure magic. in its own right.
Well, I could see a Nova movie working just because it's a kid that flies around in space under his own power, not in a stupid ship. He's out in space, flying around, punching stuff, shooting energy blasts.
Yeah,
if they market that correctly, kids will love that.
You can work in all those scavenger gangs from Guardians 2 with Stallone and like the whole Anchorman 2. Like every gang showed up with their own little league.
Yeah.
Well, it's like a kid,
And then also the ghost of Stonewall Jackson.
Yeah.
well, like a kid in a space gangland problem area would be funny. It's just like, oh god, they're rolling 60s of space. You know what I mean? And then they're coming to, you know what I mean?
The Warriors in space.
Oh, the Warriors in space. Let's write that, Spencer.
Okay, done.
Right. Kevin, we're imagining you're watching and that we are your free incubator. Mm-hmm. You're welcome. Disappointing news to those of us that will be attending Comic-Con this year and want news to report. He's not going to be at Hall H. Come on, Kevin. He said we're not going to Hall H this year. It'll be an off year, which is what we did after Avengers 1 and what we've done every few years. There will be a 10th anniversary presence at Comic-Con, but no Hall H panel. We're not going to announce any post-Avengers 4 movies until hopefully after Avengers 4, which is another reason we're not going to Comic-Con. I feel like he's like ... Let me reiterate, we're not going to Comic-Con. But are you? That's a
there'll
bummer.
Be a presence.
I was like thinking, all the stuff is gonna get revealed, but it's not.
Don't they have their own con? Aren't there like 4 different Disney cons
So
now?
they have D23, which also goes. This is an off year for D23, so a lot of times they would be saving their premiere stuff for that.
Is that the one with 2 claws? D23?
Oh.
What?
Probably.
3 blank faces.
That's somebody gif that.
I'm bummed. We'll leave it at that. That's via Collider. Disappointed, Kevin. Disappointed. All right. So add to that, nothing in Phase 4 will be announced. I feel like he's just continuing to have to reiterate this because he's like, stop asking me about it. But
I think they'll drop a. I mean, you gotta look at what he says. Post Avengers 4 movies, I think we'll probably, but there will be a 10th anniversary presence. I think we'll at least get like a big Avengers 4 thing, somehow, some way. Even if it's not in Hall H. I don't know. Remember the little Pennywise kids walking around in the little rain jackets? Maybe a bunch of little Novas will be walking around.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about that, like the viral marketing. Like maybe like you get in a pedicab and there's a sweaty guy riding and he turns around and he's Kevin Feige and he shows you some exclusive footage on his phone. He's like, don't tell anybody. You know what I mean? That would be great marketing.
That would be the greatest. Although a nerd would immediately kidnap him and beat him for all the information. That would absolutely happen. I mean, this is what he says. I kind of tend to believe it because the last time, and this is what he mentions, he says, like, we're really not going to do anything until after this time next year. After that, I think we'll announce where we're going. We did a very big announcement in 2014 where we announced a lot of movies, and we added a few movies after that announcement. Do you guys remember this? They had a big event at like the El Capitan, I think, and did a huge presentation. It was just not even at a con. He said it really felt important that we deliver on that promise before we go into a big showcase of whatever is to come. This is one of the main reasons that we're not going to Comic-Con Hall H this year. I just love that he keeps saying it. Ant-Man and the Wasp will have just been released. Infinity War will be out. Captain Marvel will have finished filming. Spider-Man Homecoming 2 will have started filming, and we're just not making any other announcements. So we're not going to wait until Comic-Con next year. He has said it so many times. Just
it's like he doth protest too much. I'm starting to think they'll be at Comic-Con Hall H this year.
You're going to be there, aren't you? With a big announcement. I'm going to keep believing now.
I would kind of appreciate it if they weren't, though. Like, I get what he's saying. Like, at some point, you got to take a breath. And, I mean, we say it almost weekly where we're like, are we tired? We check. I don't know if we are actually tired of comic book movies at this point, but we're at least having the check-in on an almost weekly basis where we're like, I don't know. Are we tired? And so quite possibly Disney could kind of go, you know what? We're going to go away for a summer. We're going to make you miss us, and then we'll return to the El Capitan immediately in September or October and blow you away with something. But, yeah, I get taking a breath.
He's really, really good also, I think, at marketing and leading the charge from, in addition to making the films, at kind of like selling them to the fan base. I think he's really good at that. So whatever timing he's sorted out, I'm sure it'll work in their favor.
I guess so, but like, what's the harm of just showing whatever you are working on at the moment? You don't need to announce a bunch of crap. Just have like Tom Holland walk out and go, hi, and then show like a picture of his backpack from Homecoming 2. People lose their minds.
Yeah.
I also
It was
think,
worth waiting 10 months outside for.
No, exactly. And I think it's also one of those things where I think Joe's right about taking a breath, though, because like a lot of times you're just overexposed. You know, you feel like everybody's seen you so much. I mean, Marvel's become like Beyonce or something. It's like it's in your coffee.
Again, don't bring Beyonce into this.
I'm just saying, Beyonce's in my timeline more than my girlfriend and my mom.
And
But
You
she
know what I
does
mean?
like
Because
go into
she's just
hibernation.
doing so much awesome stuff.
Beyonce is
the Bayhive
welcome
does
in
not-
my timeline
Don't-
anytime she wants to be in my timeline.
All right, pitchforks away.
Do you want to
Jesus.
arrow yourself? Because this is how you arrow yourself, Edgar.
I'm not saying it's bad. I am saying it's ubiquitous. And once something becomes ubiquitous, it can breed a certain sort of contempt in certain circles. So I think Marvel's wise to say, yes, we're the big dog on the block. Yes, we're the best thing since sliced bread. Yes, you know about us. You don't have to ask about us. You know about us. So we're going to let Hall H be full of Twilight fans or Astro Boy or whatever the hell you want this year.
Big Astro
And
Boy
we'll
coming.
let you yeah, we'll let you have your little Hall H. We'll let you have a giant event in there instead of us for once. You're welcome.
Indeed.
For
It'll probably be,
science. You know what I mean?
It'll be Fox.
It'll be Fox. That's,
Who they own anyways.
That's actually probably true. First of all, what I love about Ed, among many, many things that I adore about Ed, is that you just Kevin Feige'd about Kevin Feige. Some circles may feel this way, but it's not me.
People are saying.
But wait, did you guys just say that technically Fox will come have a Hall H panel where they reveal their MCU plans?
Yeah, exactly.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's exactly right. Well, first of all, one of my favorite things over the last couple of years is how DC and Marvel have kept trying to one-up each other in that room. So DC came out with like the full wall screens, right? And they were just like boom, 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 boom. And Marvel was like, okay, holograms. Like they came back the next year and we're like, like a laser light show. And then DC came and tried to like, it's just going to be, they're going to resurrect Prince by 5 years from now just to
him rest.
outdo the other
They're going to do
ones.
Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark in Hall H. Kill off a couple more Spider-Man.
But you're probably right. They'll probably give it to Fox, in which case they get promotion anyway out of it.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're going to announce Deadpool 3, Fantastic Four again, and, you know.
I hope that's the title.
Fantastic Four again.
Oregon.
But you know what? I really wish, one last thing on that part, I just really wish on the Fantastic Four part, I just was thinking about this. Why don't they just make it in the 60s, man?
Yeah.
Just make it in the 60s. Just
hell
make it
yeah.
a nice little 60s thing. Because, like, they worked then. The world was transistors. Transistors were the new thing. So, like, you know what I mean? They work in a world where transistors, wow.
There's just random dance breaks.
Oh, Ben Grimm.
It's like, hey, look at that lava lamp. That's Mr. Fantastic. You know what I mean? Like, I think that worked.
You know who could have done a great Fantastic Four, and Billy will disagree with me because he doesn't like the movie he made, but Peyton Reed, who made a movie called Down with Love, which is a total riff on the like pillow comedies of the 50s, the pillow talk comedies, and then he did Ant-Man. I think he would have made an awesome Fantastic Four, and he was actually in talks to do it at a
Was that what
certain
Ewan
point.
McGregor?
Go even
Yes.
more.
Yeah.
Yes. I love Down with
Kismet.
Love.
There you go. Am I back in your good
see
graces
the
now?
movie?
You're always in my good graces
Did you
there.
see The Love Witch last year?
Yes.
That
Yeah.
They should make Fantastic Four. Whoever
That's-
made that movie.
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah.
We fixed it. He did talk about Spider-Man: Homecoming 2 as well. He said we start filming in early July. We film in London. We shot the first film in Atlanta, and we shot a lot of films in London. But there's
screened in New
another
York.
reason we're shooting in London, which is yes, Spidey of course will spend some time in New York, but he'll spend some time in other parts of the globe as well. We love the notion of taking Spider-Man to places around the world that we haven't seen him in before, and we have a villain who I think will play into that very nicely. Who's the villain, Joe? Anybody?
Osborne.
Who do you think?
It's got to be Osborne.
You think?
Well, I don't know, it's worldwide, right? They're
Yeah,
saying.
I think he might not be the main guy, but I think worldwide you go Oscorp, and he's a global intern or something.
I'm gonna go against the grain.
Sometime.
I'm gonna go against the grain. I think it's Stilt Man.
Yes.
Yeah, I think
He
Stilt
can
Man.
travel very quickly.
long
very
distances.
quickly.
Those are very long legs. I think that's a cool premise. The comics just now caught up with this, which is on Dan Slott's run where he's Peter Parker is a successful adult now and has his own global company, so he's sort of a globe-trotting superhero now, and it's taken them so long to get him out of New York, and it's really cool to see him in Hong Kong and in Shanghai and all these really, really cool locations that they could be fun.
Great. We like it.
That's all I got.
We like that one. I think it is interesting to try and get them global. We've been talking a lot recently about just how many of the heroes are in a 5-mile radius in New York.
Oh, if you live in, Phoenix, you're screwed.
Yeah, you're screwed. You're never seeing a superhero. Screw you, all of America and the rest of the world.
Yeah.
But it's really funny because it's exactly how New York City feels about itself.
Oh yeah. This is where everything happens anyway.
But it does get to the point where you should have no more stakes. In Luke Cage, there was one point where everyone was in mourning because a card gotten overturned, and it's just a couple months ago, the Abomination and the Hulk destroyed this entire area. You guys should be fine with this.
Yeah, the repeated trauma. What movie destroyed Chicago recently? Do you guys remember? What movie was it?
Transformers.
Rampage?
Rampage.
Yeah.
Thank you, because I came out of that screening and this guy was like, "I'm from Chicago. It was nice to see Chicago get destroyed for once."
That's how you know you made it.
And I was
as a
like,
city.
"I'm from New York, and I agree. Give us a break." Damn.
LA did have a volcano.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
true.
yes.
Yeah.
One
Yeah.
volcano.
Hey, can we see the St. Louis Arch get cracked in half, please? Come on.
Hulk hate Arch.
It's oh, look at all that Memphis barbecue in the streets.
Spider-Man goes to St. Louis and just like a pendulum, just slowly coming to a stop. Oh well,
Like a Benoit ball or whatever.
Nothing to do here, but he's gone over the 59th Street Bridge now so many damn times. Kevin Feige also talked about the birth of the after-credit scenes, which we are now come to expect and demand. He said we wanted Nick Fury to be the character to intertwine all the other characters, but we didn't want to interrupt the movie like you did in one of the movies and found out people didn't like it. And yeah,
Iron Man
Iron Man
2.
2. Yeah. So he said, if Sam Jackson is in an eye patch and shows up in the middle, it might be jarring. I presumed the only people who would stay through the credits were people who would know who the guy in the eye patch was.
He presumed correctly.
He presumed.
Parentheses laughs.
Because I'm Kevin Feige, and you can get effed.
That's on his business card.
yeah.
That's on his tomb. He just owns the world. Final thoughts about the news? And then I have more things for us to do. We're going to talk about our favorite parts of Phase 2 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, he's dropping a lot of hot gobs of news on us, and I look forward to reacting to this post-Infinity War. You're the only one who's seen it, so
Yes.
I'm curious.
I know.
I can't
this
speculate yet.
Cat that ate the canary over here. That's the vibe coming off of her is that
I'm going to
Just rampant superiority.
superiority and feathers. Yeah, definitely.
I'm going to give a shout out to Kevin Feige's immunity to bad news, because when they're like, yeah, we're talking about Eternals, in no way, shape, or form do you remember Inhumans at all now.
Yeah.
Remember when that was going to be a movie and then it was a disastrous TV show? We don't remember. They Dark City'd us, where the guy, a little balled out Bino just walks up and goes, sleep. Well done,
No, I
Feige.
remember.
Marvel's never had a miss. Yeah, and you just wake up and go, Marvel makes perfect movies.
Yep.
We're actually going to get into that in a little bit, but first we want to thank once again our $50 donors. Thank you so much for contributing to our Women in Film event that is coming up next Thursday. There's a lot of work to do between now and then, but we are so excited about the show, and we cannot thank you guys enough for continuing to support it. We've raised over $30,000. We started with a goal of 10, and we're feeling pretty much like the cat who ate the canary about it. We're actually feeling
We've been eating birds.
hugely. We just
Constantly.
nonstop.
Uncooked.
turkeys, raw meat. There is a lot of vomit in this
Hollow
office
bones
at the
cracking
plant.
in our maw.
But we are really, 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 really grateful to you guys. Nothing would be possible without you. So you've been amazing. Thank you to our $50 donors today: Robert Shook, Josh Heath, Boo Boo Kitty the cat.
Thanks, Boo Boo.
Kitty the cat.
I feel like
Thank
that's
you,
my
Boo Boo.
actual cat who's like, Alex Novus, Brandon Grummett, Joanna Beveridge, Chris Miller, Dave Bowden, Rebecca Cruces, and Casey Frink. Thank you, thank you, thank you,
Thank
thank
you.
you, thank you.
Thank
You
you.
guys are amazing. Now, more Ventures. Let's talk about Phase 2 and the things that Billy and I were talking about this morning. Marvel's had such a consistent track record that I think sometimes we forget they have had some misses. Let us discuss what occurred in Phase 2. Iron Man 3 in 2013, Thor: The Dark World in 2013, Captain America: The Winter Soldier in 2014, Guardians of the Galaxy in 2014, Avengers: Age of Ultron in 2015, and Ant-Man in 2015. Which one of these is your very most favorite, and which one are you like, oh yeah, that happened?
Ooh. Tough to pick. Probably Guardians, just because it was like so fun and refreshing, and it was funny. It had action. It had a little bit of everything. Great casting, great effects. Crappy villain, but whatever. That's for all of them. And I don't know, man. I've got a soft spot for Ant-Man. I defend Iron Man 3 to the dying day.
Yeah,
and,
the
You
important
have my
question
sword?
here is where do you
My
land on
axe.
Iron Man 3?
Oh, pro.
Yeah.
I don't care about what they did to the Mandarin. I understanding that is a squandering of a great villain, but just taken as a movie, it's a great movie. It doesn't have a lot of Iron Man in it. It's just a Shane Black like buddy comedy about like an alcoholic ex-crime fighter basically looking to get his soul back. And on that level, it works so well that I forgive everything else.
And that
Yeah.
is very important, Spencer. You're very astute, my man, because that is very important, because what they're doing is establishing that, yes, we have this giant corporate Disney wiener we're slapping on the table every minute, but we also have our
Delicious.
D23, you guys. It's got a glove on the end of it for some reason.
no.
Well, Mickey's keeping it safe. He definitely has a glove on. Meat snacks.
True. It's important,
Meat
kids.
snacks for everyone.
Meat snacks.
Yes. So the bottom line is,
Where's the graphic?
they have their big Disney wiener, but they're also establishing that, like, yo, man, we will let an auteur do some weird stuff with our people, with our characters, so that it's a place for filmmakers to come, real brilliant people, not just corporate shills, not just the, hey, give me Richard Marquand, Robert Marquand, or whatever. He knows where to put the camera to make the Ewoks look cool. Yeah, let this technician come do it. No, real artists, real auteurs. Even some of their missteps, like Thor 1, in my personal opinion, Homeboy knew about that Shakespearean stuff, but he couldn't direct action for Jack. So, but that was a noble experiment, right? Because it enabled them to kind of get into more rarefied air as far as how they're going to present these mythic characters. Thor: The Dark World sucks.
Yes.
But so the auteur thing for that movie, but also Winter Soldier. I'm sorry, I'm going off on a rant here, but Winter Soldier was so important.
rant.
Oh, Winter Soldier was so important because guess what? Captain America was a punk that sucked and had a weird training montage that made him just better at everybody than fighting like two seconds in the woods in World War II, and he's the best fighter in the MCU. That was awful, really awful. The first Captain America movie, I'm sorry, it's bordering on awful. I don't like it. And he kind of was a punk. And in the Avengers, all he did was jump around and dodge stuff. He was a total punk. Winter Soldier, the first 5 minutes, he's kicking fools 30 feet, smacking fools off the
Yep.
ship, jumping out of stuff with no parachute. It's like, no. This ain't your daddy's Captain America. This is real deal Brubaker, blank you up, Captain America. Let's do this. And that's important. That sells the whole rest of this second, third, fourth phase with Captain America involved.
Yeah,
That's all I
you're
gotta
not
say.
wrong.
Agreed.
I thought it was when after we talked about Phase 1 yesterday, I realized that we sort of looked at it from an angle of like, we like all of these pretty much, but isn't it interesting that there are already sort of like cracks in the wall, and we spent a lot of time looking at those. So in the actual cracks in the wall phase, I'm trying to be like more positive. I agree with you on Iron Man 3. I think the fact that early on they were brave enough to just not hand comic book fans like a stamp on their bingo card of Mandarin doing the things that we expect him to do and be was really, really cool. I wish the twist had not just been the boring blonde guy.
Yes.
That was the only like falter of it to me. I love the look of Thor: The Dark World so much.
No, Joe.
No.
No.
Leave it alone.
No.
We will not give you a platform to defend Thor: The Dark World.
Fine.
Cut the mic.
It's like Zack Snyder bit somebody that was working on the Thor movie. You know what I mean? He like just bit him in the neck. He's like, I'm fine. He's in the basement with everybody. I'm fine.
So
Nothing's wrong.
Can I just say this is how Kevin Feige expressed
Slow
how
it
he
down.
felt about Thor: The Dark World. Like he again is the master of the press, but I remember this one interview where he was with Andrew Taylor. Is that the director? Of Thor:
Sure.
The Dark World. So he's in it. Alan Taylor, thank you.
Boom.
Alan Taylor, who's done a bunch of Game of Thrones and whatever.
I couldn't even tell you that, and I like the movie.
He was sitting with him, and the reporter asked Alan Taylor, like, "Oh, you've done a lot of TV before. Would you work on a Marvel TV show?" And Kevin Feige goes, "He should be so lucky." That moment is where Kevin Feige told the world how he felt about Thor: The Dark World, and it was not good.
Okay. But then to bounce from that, Winter Soldier and Guardians probably in everyone's top 5.
Yeah.
Unless you're just really trying to get clicks. Ant-Man, I've got a sweet spot for that movie
It's
too.
just a good comedy.
It's super fun. I wish they had cut the cop character and just made his ex-wife the cop because she's an amazing actress and could have really knocked that role out of the park. But that's really my only complaint. And Ultron probably in my bottom 3.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
So
I think phase 2, the highs were high and the lows were low, whereas phase 1 was all like, okay, these are pretty good for comic book
Yeah.
movies. This is like,
Yeah.
we're going up and down.
Ultron was part of a definite corporate strategy. It felt corporate all over. It felt like watching a corporate training video for Marvel
I think
or
what-
something a lot of the time.
I think what happened with Ultron was, to reiterate where we're landing on this with our hot takes. Iron Man 3, everyone at this table defends it. I love Shane Black. I thought it was a really refreshing entry and more evidence that they could make interesting films out of comic book movies. I know you guys are going to be angry. I feel your pain and accept your opinion. Thor: The Dark World was straight bad, Joe. Bad movie. Captain America: The Winter Soldier, to me, on paper, it reset the MCU. It said, like, not only are we going to make good comic book movies, we're going to really enter other genres and nail them. We're going to do a 70s spy film, and we're going to make a really good film. Chris Evans was very involved with the Russos in terms of the kind of action he wanted to do, and he was like, I want to do hand-to-hand.
And it brought the Russos into the MCU.
Brought the Russos into the MCU. I personally, in terms of action sequences, I'm a much bigger fan of like hand-to-hand, the raid, things like that, John Wick, and personal fighting than big, huge sequences because I kind of get lost in it.
Sure.
Ultron is a big mess in my opinion.
Well, you have
It
you
is-
have exactly what you
like,
just described.
Yeah.
That gross like group shot where all the robots are flying.
Yeah.
in.
To me, that movie, it's really sad because I do think it was that. It was like he was mandated to do so many things, to answer things, to set new things up. A lot of it just didn't make sense together. Why was Thor in the tub? I'm not complaining. But why is he in that hot tub? I mean, I know we know why, but it's like it didn't work in that movie.
The one part he really fought for to keep in was the best part, which was just the farm stuff.
Yeah.
Just hanging out in the farm
Just
was
Yeah.
more exciting
character
than
work.
the 7th car chase
Yeah.
with Ultron.
I mean,
was
it has
kind of a
two.
whiff,
It
too.
has two great scenes. The scene where they're all kicking it and they're trying to lift Thor's hammer and playing drinking games with each other. It's like, hey, what
The
machine? You
vets
suck.
are
Yeah.
there.
That,
and-
you know what I'm saying? That was great. And then the farm stuff. And every time they had to fight, it was like, okay, that's a green wall, that's a green wall, that's a green wall. The room's about this big. You'll be Hulk. A bunch of tennis balls. You'll be, and it was like they were fighting in a phone booth. There was
Yeah.
no scale.
Yeah.
The original Avengers movie has massive scale. On every time they're fighting in a football field, they're fighting in a football field.
Yeah, I think it's clear that he's talked about it quite a bit, that it was that it was a movie by committee, and those look, people are allowed to have missteps. You know, I'm not talking about Joss Whedon, I'm talking about Marvel in that case, that it was a movie by committee. Those rarely work out well. They're probably big fans of Ultron. I know Billy likes it. I loved Ant-Man as just a solo fun like caper that was really funny and enjoyable to watch, I will defend that movie. I think Peyton Reed is really talented, but there you have it. There's some of those sequences, like the disintegration sequence.
Yeah.
Oh man, I thought that was nearing on genius. I don't care what you say, but my very favorite in my heart of all time Marvel movies is definitely Guardians of the Galaxy. This movie hits every single part of the little girl in me that loved Flash Gordon. I love this movie, which does hold up, Spencer. I love this movie. I've seen it. I don't see movies on repeat very often. I've seen it 7 times. And it keeps getting better every time I see it. They are my favorite characters in the MCU. I just love the Guardians because it is the culmination of my favorite things. It's science fantasy. It is ridiculous character. It's aliens.
Well, I mean, and it's got so many things that like people can quote and love. Like me and my girls still do stuff like "It's real." Like we do that to each other. Like, if I've since a fake laugh, that's a fake laugh. It's real. We do that to each other. It's fun.
Yeah, it has so much heart, that movie too, and I care so much about those characters in a way that you wouldn't think.
A hangout heist movie that had implications to set up, and that's when Marvel's in their sweet spot. They're doing a genre movie, and oh, by the way, this one scene that's just as good as all the rest of the scenes does set this dope ass thing up for the rest of the movie universe.
And I think people dismiss how clever it is because on paper it's not serious, because it is comedic the whole way through. But at the same time, like Rocket has so much pathos, you know, like even if you don't go in knowing anything about this character, he's gonna break your heart a little bit in this movie. That's pretty amazing.
Little orphan Peter Quill right at the beginning. You give him like, you know, everyone's dying. His mom's got cancer. Gets abducted on the bad. Talk about a bad day.
The idea of "but there are jokes" is the shittiest criticism to me. Like it dismisses an entire genre. It dismisses comedy. It's weird to me because I feel like a lot of the same people who are like, oh, but it's funny, I want real and dark and gritty stuff, also are people who are like, I'm a card-carrying lover of like Bill Hicks and George Carlin, man, and it's just like comedians.
Well, I take
man, they're truth tellers, man. These fools laugh at it. I just look at them like this. I agree.
I agree. Hilarious joke. I agree.
Give me another beer.
Marvel's definitely guilty of not fully committing to moments with stakes.
Yes.
And
Guardians 2.
Guardians 2. We'll talk about that phase 3.
I mean, but that's in the personality of the comics, though. From the get-go, they would undercut serious moments, whether in the narration or the captions or whatever. And now we're just getting that in overall tone. You know what I mean? I personally think that once you get too serious, you get that other company's movies. And I'm sorry, what do you want more?
It's a balancing act.
It is a balancing act, but I actually think Guardians finds the balance pretty beautifully. And I do think that some of the more recent movies have done just that. Like they're afraid of sentimentality, but they're so afraid of it that a moment that would work and doesn't need a joke is completely undercut with a joke.
Yeah.
I have seen that happen, but not in Guardians of the Galaxy, which is a perfect movie. I won't hear otherwise. But you know what the great thing is? We're all welcome to our opinion. You can have your favorite, maybe even if you're wrong and don't love Guardians. You maybe don't like Ant-Man. Maybe you love Ultron. I know that Billy really likes Ultron. You want Billy's hot takes? No. Okay, very well. He hates Iron Man 3. He's with you on that. He's with the people.
Yeah. They're out there.
I love that they've actively retconned almost every part of by the end of it.
Which was so sad.
Yeah.
Off camera, Billy.
Money to undo the Ben Kingsley part.
Which was purely the retcon of Iron Man 3 is so sad because it's purely because a reaction to fans being like, you didn't give us the thing exactly as we know the thing, and like that disappointed me. Stick to your guns. Like take weird creative chances and stick to your guns.
And also know which battles are worth fighting. Is it worth it for us to have an Asian dude with a big Fu Manchu mustache with some frings that he got from a spaceship? How are we going to explain that? People don't remember that part about the Mandarin. He didn't sit down and techno up in a cave, make these rings, and be like, I'm another technology genius to fight Stark. That ain't what happened. He found it in an ancient magical spaceship, and he took the rings. He's like, oh, and he learned how to use all of them with no manual. That's stupid as hell.
That's a Mandy Sue. There.
Mandy Sue, exactly. That's stupid as hell. And if you wanted that or any version of that, I don't need your money, loser. That's what I'd say if I was If I was Feige, I'd be like, I don't need your money, loser. I'm driving a pedicab at Comic-Con showing people free footage.
I think we're unpacking why we're not under that tent. I think
so.
That's why we're not under the tent. But the cool thing, even going through this, is truly that all of these movies have something to offer someone. You know, like even if they're not our favorite, a lot of people really don't like Ant-Man at all. I think it's super fun. So, well done, Marvel. Well done. You know what you can watch this week on our channel?
Tell us.
Okay, I will tell you, damn it. You can watch the ScreenJunkies show. You can watch the ScreenJunkies show, which is a preview of all your summer movies, including the Avengers. We have an Avengers Infinity War non-spoiler review right here on ScreenJunkies News with Daniel Radford and I. We're going to have a spoiler review that will be going up this Saturday with the three of us, Mr. Spencer.
Oh,
yeah, hot
okay.
takes. Strad, myself.
A horse is a horse.
That's it. Watch those things. Join us tomorrow. We're going to have movie fights, and there's actually going to be a fun announcement on movie fights about a thing that you can vote on in our upcoming show on May 3rd.
May 3rd.
Which is May 3rd. Oh,
At
God.
3 o'clock.
Should we tell them what they can vote on? I'll tell them. I'm going to
Do it.
let loose. You're going to be able to vote on which of the fights. We have about 11 fights in our show. Which one of those fights will be fighting for the belt?
Ooh.
Up to you. Who's eligible for the belt? But
Yeah,
either
a lot of
way,
good fights to choose from.
even if it's not in the Honest Trailer fight, which it probably will be, even if it's not in that fight, don't
Now
you
give it
worry.
to Mike Carlson or a puppet.
Please give it to Puppet. Please give it to Puppet. I'm begging you. Please make it the Puppet fights, because the reason is Dan will be able to fight that puppet.
Yes.
Because he's going to be coming after that belt, mind you. Don't you worry.
Make him earn it. Fight
Make
the
him
puppet.
earn it and fight the puppet.
Hashtag fight the
Chunk
puppet.
for the win, people. If you believe in love, you believe in Chunk. That's all for us today. Thank you. Oh, and
You
Pickle. I'm sorry,
believe
Pickle.
in love.
Cucumber. Is
Pickles
that-
after he dies, I think.
They put him in the back to tank.